Listen, I need y'all to sit with me for a second and really hear this. Life's too short to be caught up with people who don't genuinely care about your growth, your peace, or your bag. You've got dreams to chase, mountains to climb, and visions to manifest. And the people you allow around you, they either lift you or they drain you. There's no in between. I've seen it over and over, and I've lived it. Some people in your circle, but they don't really care about you. They're there for convenience or what you can give them, not because they're rooting for your greatness. So today I want to break down 4 behaviors of people who don't care about you, so you can recognize them and protect your energy. The first thing you got to pay attention to is how people reach out to you. Life teaches you real quick that not everybody in your circle has your best interest at heart. Some folks only show up when it's convenient for them, when they need something from you, when there's something to gain. And that's a subtle type of poison in your life if you don't recognize it early. These are the people who slide into your DMs when they need cash, a ride, advice, or some favor that costs you your time, your energy, or your peace. And that's why the first thing to look for is patterns, because patterns never lie. If someone consistently only contacts you when there's a benefit to be had, that's a clear sign of where they're coming from. I remember a friend I used to run with. We grew up in the same neighborhood, shared the same dreams, and had the same hustle. When he needed something, let's say a ride across town or a little help covering bills, he was on my line fast, always quick to hit me up. But when the tables turned, when I was going through my own struggle, when life knocked me down and I needed someone to just check in or offer some support, that same line went silent. No calls, no messages, no concern. And that moment hit me harder than any loss, because it wasn't a loud betrayal. It was quiet, subtle, a demonstration of true colors without a word being spoken. That's when I realized something fundamental. It wasn't friendship, it was convenience. That's the kind of energy that can waste your time and your heart if you don't see it coming. People like that are calculating, but not in a way that benefits your growth. They calculate based on what they can take, not what they can give, not on how they can contribute to your vision. And here's the thing. Sometimes the way they operate is so disguised that it almost feels normal. They'll laugh with you, they'll share moments with you, and in the midst of that, they're keeping a mental tally of what you owe them or what you can do for them. But genuine people don't operate like that. People who care about you show up in your life without strings attached. They invest when the season is good, when you're winning, and they invest when the season is rough, when you're losing. They know that relationships are not a transaction, they're an investment. And that investment isn't measured by what they can get, it's measured by how they can support, uplift, and stand by you. I want you to think about the people around you for a second. Think about who calls just to talk. Who checks in without expecting anything in return? Who shows up when they know you're dealing with something heavy? Those are the people worth holding on to. And when you start to see that pattern of people only reaching out during their time of need, it's not about being bitter. It's about being aware. Awareness protects your energy. Awareness helps you make the decisions that allow you to grow without unnecessary drain. There's another layer to this that most people miss. The reason why this behavior hurts so much is because it disguises itself as friendship. It disguises itself as connection, as love, as care, and that's why you feel used before you even fully realize it. You see, the human brain is wired to bond, to form connections, to trust. When someone takes advantage of that, when they manipulate that natural inclination, it creates not just a moment of disappointment, it creates a lesson that sticks with you if you let it. And life is full of those lessons, repeated in different forms until you finally learn them. One day you'll start noticing it right away, the way someone only contacts you when there's something to be gained. And the freedom that comes from that realization is real. I've learned that protecting your energy isn't about cutting people off unnecessarily, it's about discerning. It's about being honest with yourself about who's truly there for you. And you'll notice that the people who are real don't need an agenda. They don't need a reason to check in. They don't show up with an expectation or a hidden motive. They just show up. And when they show up, you feel it. It's subtle, but it's powerful. It's different than the ones who only appear in a moment of convenience. The truth is, everybody's got a circle, and everybody's got someone trying to use them, trying to get something. That's life. That's the streets. That's human nature. But recognizing the difference is what separates people who grow and thrive from people who stagnate in frustration and betrayal. You have to watch, listen, and feel the energy of the people around you. If their presence leaves you feeling drained, obligated, or like you're being measured for what you can provide, then you're dealing with convenience, not care. That's not love. That's not friendship. It's temporary and conditional energy, and it has no place in your permanent circle. And here's the most powerful part of realizing this. Once you see it, you free yourself. You free yourself from chasing after people who will never value your time. You free yourself from explaining yourself to people who will never understand your grind. You free yourself from the frustration of expecting support where there never will be support. And that freedom is the kind of clarity that allows you to focus on your vision, your dreams, and the people who genuinely ride with you. I want you to remember this too. Sometimes the people who don't reach out when you need them the most will continue to try to make it seem like they care in other ways, but don't be fooled. The measure of care isn't in what someone says, it's in what they consistently do. If someone is only present at times of their convenience, that's a reflection of their character, not yours. You don't owe anyone your energy just because they're comfortable taking it. You owe yourself protection. You owe yourself the ability to surround yourself with people who lift you, who invest in you, and who don't just see you as a resource to be tapped. And this isn't just about personal relationships. It shows up in business too. You'll notice clients, partners, or associates who only hit you up when they need a favor, a connection, or your skill, but disappear when it's time to collaborate or support your vision. And life is easier when you can see that pattern early. It allows you to set boundaries without guilt and prioritize your energy for the people and projects that actually matter. At the end of the day, the people who reach out only when they need something are giving you a valuable lesson. They're teaching you the difference between convenience and commitment. They're teaching you the value of your own time and energy. They're teaching you that care cannot be manufactured when it's absent. And the sooner you recognize that, the sooner you start to attract people who are genuinely about growth, loyalty, and mutual support. So the next time someone hits you up, ask yourself, is this about them or is this about us? Is this about convenience or is this about care? Your life, your energy, your peace, those aren't negotiable. Don't mistake attention for investment, and don't confuse presence with loyalty. Real people invest consistently without calculating the return, without measuring how much you can provide. And those are the people worth keeping close because they see your value even when you can't see it yourself. This one hits deep, and it's one of those things that people don't always see until they're standing in the middle of it. People who don't care about you will not celebrate your wins. They will minimize them, downplay them, or even worse, react with jealousy. When you accomplish something big, you hit a milestone, you level up in life, and instead of encouragement, instead of someone being genuinely happy for you, you get a shrug, a silence that speaks louder than words, or sometimes a subtle jab hidden in their words. And that hurt cuts differently because you don't expect it. You expect the people around you, the ones who claim to care, to lift you up, to cheer you on, to celebrate the hard work that got you there. But what you get instead is a mirror showing you the absence of real support. Think about it for a second. Imagine dropping a big project at work, finally getting that promotion, or hitting a personal milestone you've been grinding toward for years. You're proud, you're excited, and you share with people you thought would share your joy. And instead of feeling that energy come back to you, you feel a coldness, an emptiness, or even a quiet resentment. That is a powerful indicator of who genuinely cares and who's just along for the surface level moment. People who don't care about you see your success as a threat, not a triumph. They see your victory as a comparison to their own life, a reflection of what they don't have, rather than an inspiration or a reason to celebrate with you. I've seen it over and over. I remember seeing friends hit massive milestones, entrepreneurs making their first million, creators dropping their first major project, people finally breaking free from a cycle they've been stuck in for years. The people who really loved them were there, cheering on the sidelines, sending messages of congratulations, showing up in ways that weren't loud but deeply felt. The energy from those people was electric because it was authentic, it was uncalculating, it wasn't conditional. And then there were the others, the ones who didn't say anything, the ones who disappeared, the ones who found a way to subtly throw shade or make a comment that made you question if your joy was allowed. That contrast is sharp, and it hits hard when you realize who's really in your corner. It's easy to get caught up in the moment and feel hurt, frustrated, or even angry. But that's because our human nature wants to believe that everyone around us is rooting for our success. We want our people to be happy for us, to celebrate with us, to see the effort we put in and recognize it. And when that doesn't happen, it's not about you. It's about them. People who can't celebrate your wins are often people struggling with themselves, with envy, with insecurity, or with a mindset that only allows them to focus on their own scarcity rather than abundance. And the lesson here is powerful. Your energy is too valuable to waste on people who can't be happy for you, your growth, your victories, your milestones. They deserve to be celebrated by those who are capable of celebration, not minimized by those who aren't. You also have to realize that real friendship and real care don't compete with your success, they amplify it. Real friends don't look at your wins and feel threatened. They see it as a shared victory because they understand the grind, the sacrifice, and the hustle it takes to get there. They celebrate you, knowing that your success doesn't take away from theirs, but rather it raises the standard, it shows what's possible, it inspires them to do more in their own life. That kind of energy is rare, but it's the kind of energy you need around you if you want to rise. One thing I've noticed over time is that when people don't celebrate your victories, it's not always obvious at first. Sometimes it's subtle. It's a comment that seems harmless, a laugh that doesn't reach their eyes, a tone that carries a little edge. And sometimes it's absence. Absence can be louder than words. You put in the work, you achieve something great, and the people who should be there, the people you thought were riding with you, aren't there at all. And that absence teaches you something important. It teaches you to recognize patterns. It teaches you to read between the lines. It teaches you who's there for convenience, who's there for surface level appearances, and who's there because they actually care about your journey. I remember one story about a friend of mine, an artist who had been grinding for years, putting in the late nights, the early mornings, sacrificing time, sleep, and comfort to create his vision. The day he finally released a project that blew up, some of the same people who had been around during the early hustle didn't even reach out. They were quiet, absent, indifferent. But then there were a few others who had been quiet through the grind, watching, observing, waiting to see him shine. And those were the ones sending messages, posting support, celebrating his hard work without expecting anything in return. That contrast taught him more about loyalty, care, and energy than any lecture ever could. It taught him to invest in the right people and let go of the rest. And it's not just personal relationships. This shows up in business and communities and collaborations. When you accomplish something big, people who truly care want to amplify it, not downplay it. They understand that your success is not a threat. It's a reflection of what's possible. And it's a reason to celebrate the grind, the hustle, the journey that got you there. The people who celebrate you don't compete. They participate in your energy. They become part of the momentum, part of the narrative of growth and triumph. That kind of energy is contagious. That kind of energy motivates you to keep going, to aim higher, to push further, because you know you're not alone and your efforts are appreciated. It's important to remember that jealousy or downplaying your victories often comes from a place of insecurity, not from a reflection of your worth. Someone else's inability to celebrate you does not diminish your success, your effort, or your value. And understanding that difference is liberating. You stop trying to force validation from people who can't give it, and you start focusing on the ones who genuinely root for you. You start building circles that are constructive, supportive, and real. You start attracting people who want to see your wins because they know how hard you work for them, and they know how it feels to push past the obstacles that life throws in your way. So whenever you achieve something, look closely at the people around you. Notice who's there, who's cheering, who's showing genuine excitement, and who's quiet, distant, or critical. Those observations aren't just social, they're lessons and they're guidance. They teach you about loyalty, authenticity, and energy. They help you invest your time and love in the right circles, and they remind you that your growth and your wins are sacred, and they deserve to be celebrated by those who understand the journey, the sacrifice, and the grind it took to get there. Real friends, real people who care, understand that celebrating your success doesn't take away from theirs, it multiplies it. They know that your energy, your ambition, and your victories are part of a bigger cycle of abundance, not competition. That's why they cheer. That's why they uplift. That's why they amplify your wins instead of shrinking them. And the people who can't do that, you have to let them go. Not out of hate, but out of respect for your own energy, your own peace, and your own vision. It's easy to be around people when everything is smooth, when the vibes are good, when money is flowing and life feels like it's cooperating. That's the season when everyone wants to be your friend, when it's easy to show up, when there's nothing heavy pressing down on your shoulders. But life doesn't stay easy forever. Bills pile up, dreams feel distant, opportunities don't come as fast as you want them to, and sometimes heartbreak hits like a truck you didn't see coming. And in those moments, you start to see the real faces of the people around you. The people who don't care, they fade, they disappear, they make themselves scarce, and their absence speaks louder than any words ever could. I remember watching this unfold in my own life, and I want to be real with you. It stings. It hurts to see people you've called friends, people you've shared moments with, people you thought would ride with you through anything, suddenly nowhere to be found. You start questioning yourself. Was I too much? Did I do something wrong? And the truth is, their absence isn't about you. It's about them. It's about the kind of person they are when there's no comfort, when there's no benefit, when supporting you requires effort, sacrifice, or consistency. Some people only show up when it's easy. They only show up when it's convenient for them. And that's not loyalty. That's convenience disguised as care. Let me tell you a story. A cousin of mine went through one of the hardest times of her life. She had health issues she was trying to manage while juggling bills, responsibilities, and the daily grind. Things were stacking against her and the stress was real. She expected her circle, the people she thought were close to her, to be there in some way, even just to check in. But almost immediately, people started fading. Messages went unanswered. Calls were ignored. Invitations disappeared. The ones she thought would stand by her quietly slipped out of her life. And that's when she realized something fundamental. Not everyone who claims to care actually does. But the difference, the lesson in all of that, is in the people who did show up. The people who truly loved her didn't wait for a reason. They didn't wait for her to ask for help. They just showed up. They brought food, they offered support, they called without prompting, they reminded her that she wasn't alone. That kind of loyalty isn't loud. It doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't need recognition, but it's powerful because it's consistent, especially when it's inconvenient. And that's what separates those who care from those who don't. Consistency is the proof of love and care. Convenience is the proof of self-interest. Life has a way of revealing the truth. When times are good, it's hard to tell who's there for you because everyone is showing up. It's easy. But when the pressure hits, the hardships arrive, the grind gets tough, the bills stack up, and the nights feel longer than the days, that's when the real energy of the people around you becomes visible. Those who don't care will disappear because supporting you in your struggle requires effort. And effort is something they are not willing to give. Those who truly care will rise to the occasion because their loyalty isn't dependent on convenience. Their care isn't conditional. They understand that life is cyclical. Their struggles are temporary, and that being there in the hard times is what strengthens bonds and builds trust. I've seen this happen with people I've worked with, people I've grown up around, people I've called friends. When the struggle hits, the obstacles feel insurmountable and the grind tests your patience. Those who aren't invested in your well-being quietly retreat. They may offer excuses or disappear silently, but you can feel it. You feel the space they leave behind, the lack of energy, the absence of encouragement. And that absence is a teacher if you let it be. It teaches you to recognize patterns, to value your energy, and to prioritize relationships with people who will actually ride with you no matter the season. The hardest part is that when people disappear, it can shake your faith in relationships. It can make you question if loyalty and care still exist in the world. But it's in those moments that you learn to identify who's genuine and who's temporary. You learn that loyalty isn't loud, it's consistent. It doesn't make a scene, it doesn't need to be announced. Real care manifests in actions when no one is looking, when showing up is inconvenient, when supporting someone is harder than it looks. That's the energy you want around you because those are people who actually build, elevate, and protect you. I've also learned that when people disappear, it creates a space for growth and reflection. It forces you to rely on yourself, to trust your own grind, and to strengthen your own resilience. It teaches you that you can survive